Okay, Module 1, Part 2. Starting with graphing lines from equations. The first line that we're going to look at is y equals negative 1/5 x plus 4. So one thing to know about this is on all the graphs that we look at, we're going to have y by itself. And when y is by itself, it's usually generally pretty easy to graph this kind of equation. And the first thing that we'll want to do is start by graphing this point. So we're going to graph the 4, and the way that we'll do that so we'll count up 4, and that's where we'll put our first dot. And then we're going to use the slope. The slope is always whatever's in front of, let me use a different color. The slope's always in front of whatever's in front of x. So here we've got negative 1/5, and that tells us the slope, which is always rise on top of run. So in this case, the rise is negative 1 and the run is 5. So from that point that we just set, the 4, we're going to rise negative 1. So that means we're actually going to go down. We're not going to rise up. We're going to rise down 1. And then we're going to go to the right 5. So from the 4, we're going to go down 1 over 5, and we're going to put a point there. Okay, and that's pretty much all there is to that. We'll look at another one like that. Graphing lines from equations. We've got y equals 5/3 x minus 1. So again, we're going to start with the negative 1. And then we're going to use the slope to find the next point. So in this case, the rise is 5. And then on the bottom, the run is 3. So from this point that we just plotted at negative 1, we're going to rise 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go up. And then we're going to go over 3. So from this point here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going right 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll do one more of those. Third example, we've got y equals negative x plus 5. And really the only new thing that I want to point out here, because it starts out the same, so we've got the 5 plotted, and then we're going to use the slope. So whatever is in front of x, and in this case, it's negative 1. That's really what's in front of it. And you'll want to remember that negative 1 actually has a denominator. So it's negative 1 over 1. So if that's what's in front of x, then that means the rise is negative 1 and the run is positive 1. So starting from this point, we're going to rise negative 1, which means we'll go down. And then we're going to run 1, which means we're going to go right 1. So rise down 1, run 1 over 1. Okay, so next we'll look at quadratic functions, and the instructions are going to say determine the value of y if x is -7. So not too complicated here. All we want to do is put -7 in for x. They tell us x is -7. So y equals, I'm going to put this in parentheses, -7 squared plus 1. -7 times -7. So y equals 50.